Hello everybody and welcome to the GTR24 Sprint Series highlights here from the 6th round at Suzuka. Coming into the race, First Esport were leading the championship by 35 points over Musto GD Esports after a bit of a disastrous Bathurst race. They managed to qualify second though, just behind Tim Yarshall, who qualified on pole for Euronics. Then it was Alessio Piscetto and Alexander Vromont returning for AAA Esports down there in 4th, with John Monroe and Mike Epps on the 3rd row of the grid. 2 hours were on the clock then, the red lights were on, and they would quickly be out as we got this Suzuka race underway. It was a fairly clean start in the end, but not for Mike Epps, I'm afraid. He managed to get a drive-through almost immediately, possibly for a jump start. Tim Yarshall retained the lead through turn number 1, ahead of Tiziano Brioni. But back in the pack, the battles were all going on. This is on board with John Monroe on the left-hand side of your screen right now, and on the left-hand side of that screen, you'll see Michi Hoyer trying to make a fantastic move through the S's, the most difficult part of the circuit to make an overtake, but Michi Hoyer did manage it, and he was up into around about 8th position. Into turn number 1, Leon Atoki trying to get moves done early on, and he was up into 9th, just ahead of Matt Beavis after that pass. And Mike Epps wasn't having quite such good luck in this race. After barely 5 minutes, he'd already had 2 disasters, dropping to 17th. After a off at the Degner curves. This was a huge battle going on with around 5 cars involved. This is Philip Matzik we're following right now. A little bit of contact between 3 cars, and it's amazing how those guys managed to get away without incident. That was the Michi Hoyer train, by the way, and we'll see those guys a bit later on. Brioni managed to take the lead around the opening laps, but eventually went wide, going back down to 4th position. And this was on board with Casper Henningsen, who'd had a pretty disastrous start for the championship leaders. It was not looking good for those guys at all, but that overtake on Sean Bennett retrieved another position. This was the Michi Hoyer train I was speaking about just a moment ago. This was all over 8th position, but a little bit of contact between these guys sent Daniel Frommel spearing into the pack, and then Matzik spearing into the pack as well, nearly taking out the championship leader. This was the Brioni battle. This was for 2nd position now, as he had made up another couple of positions. As Rasmus Andreasen was trying to not get overtaken by Simon Crane. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't quite manage it. Brioni managed to get back to the lead though, as he overtook Alexander Vromont, not without a little bit of contact, and indeed it nearly allowed Tim Yarshall to get through as well. In fact, it did down there at turn number 2. This was a big battle between these 2 Mercedes cars as they ran away from the AAA Esports Aston Martin. Yarshall with a big run out of the Dunlop curve up towards the Degners. Not really a place you want to be overtaking. Yarshall trying to get the cutback, but hit the back of the Musto GD Esports Mercedes, which was spun for the 2nd round in a row. Brioni dropped to 3rd, but Yarshall would get a drive-through penalty. Alexander Vromont would have to retake the lead because of that drive-through, but he didn't have it for very long, as Tiziano Brioni managed to get past him on the front straight, and Alessio Piscetto nearly overtook him as well. But Vromont just about hung on with a fantastic piece of car control through turn number 2. Piscetto would keep trying though. This is down into 130R, one of the most dangerous places to overtake, it has to be said. But despite being all the way alongside, he backed off anyway, citing that that was not the best moment to go for it. He pitted along with Brioni on that lap, and then Vromont pitted a lap later, but he forgot to uncheck his brake pads, so his pit stop was very, very long indeed. This is Daniele Primavera and Michi Hoyer, unfortunately not being very nice to him, and he managed to get a drive-through penalty for his actions. Primavera, when coming out the pit lane, just nudged Carl Leikegaard, who hadn't pitted yet despite being 70 minutes into the race, and that was a little bit aggressive as well. Carl Leikegaard would continue to fall through the field, as you can see on the bottom side of his screen right now, but would later get a drive-through penalty, possibly for cut track infringements. This was the main entertainment for the 2nd half of the race. The battle between Ross McGregor and Jesper Pedersen didn't turn out too well for Ross McGregor though, who took an extra spin in his rush to get going again. Pedersen waited though, so that he didn't receive a penalty. This battle continued on though, on the very next lap. The battle into 130R was absolutely sensational to watch. Pedersen couldn't quite get through on this occasion though. This was another battle into 130R. Unfortunately though, not quite as clean on this occasion. 16th position between Salsgaard and Lee, but eventually Lee would get the move done with 13 minutes to go down into turn number 1. Mikael Moe was trying to get the final point on Dan Kell. This was a little bit of contact between the McLaren and the Mercedes drivers, but they all managed to keep it pointing in the same direction somehow. This is Daniele Primavera trying to get past Ross McGregor, who'd already been passed by Pedersen, but in the final few moments Primavera did a fantastic up and under move into turn number 2. He was into 4th position, but it was Pierluca Amato who was running on his own for much of the second half of the race, being chased down by Luca Schmidt, but Schmidt could not get there, and Pierluca Amato managed to take the win from Schmidt, Pedersen, Primavera and Ross McGregor in 5th. These were the season standings then after the race. Pedersen lost 10 points to Amato, so Burst Esport are now only 25 points ahead of Musto GD Esports, and they both gained on AAA and Euronics.